Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and welcome back to Diablo 4. We have been playing the Vessel of Hatred expansion a little bit early, and with that I'm bringing to you this early guide on how to level as effectively and as fun as possible with Rogue in the new season and the new DLC launch. The crux of this build, as you're seeing, is the new skill, Dance of Knives, which allows you to channel these knives and send them out around you. During this you get 20% movement speed base and 10% chance to dodge while channeling. As a channel effect, there's a lot of interesting details around that, but a core component of this leveling build is just one aspect, which is the star shards. It has two effects. You have a 50% chance to shatter your knives into 6 shards, dealing this burst of damage, so you're going to be sending tons of these knives out and proccing that in AoE. The other part of that is a key one. Dance of Knives now spends combo points, granting up to 3 additional charges. So I'm able to get up to 9 charges with Dance of Knives, and then maintain that by moving around. To explain what I mean by that, we can look at the skill tree in Dance of Knives in particular and its first enhancement, Enhanced Dance of Knives. Every 30 meters you travel, you get 4 charges. So with lots of movement speed, you're able to continuously recharge your charges. But with this aspect, you're also able to increase the cap of charges, helping you maintain a very long or almost permanent spin. In this leveling build, we're going to achieve that through lots of different movement speed increases. But yes, I'm using combo points, despite the fact that that shouldn't logically fit well because you need a basic attack with a leveling version of this. The truth is, in my experience, sending a couple of quick hits out and getting a mass amount of benefits super early without specific aspects or stats to achieve high enough movement speed, it basically means you're really quick at maintaining these really long Dance of Knives immediately. So I found that this is incredible for leveling because, again, as you can see, Dance of Knives is incredible for AoE destruction, and that is 90% of what you're doing during your leveling. And Dance of Knives allows you to kill packs of enemies while flying by, basically ignoring them. It is essentially the new Barbarian whirlwind, but for rogues. There are some valid concerns about this in true endgame with some changes they've made compared to PTR to the version we're playing, but for just getting to 60 and effectively being able to gear up to go into Torment 1, which, by the way, as you can see, I cleared the tier 20 literally right after hitting level 60, to the point where I literally had no Paragon points, like 7 or something, no glyph equipped, and not a perfect build, just to show you how strong and effective this actually is, even when you get to the point when you need to unlock Torment 1. Let's talk about the synergies to make this work. All I'm really doing is holding right click for my Dance of Knives and holding that out. In the PTR, you could absolutely spam it and not lose the charges, but now it's much more about just holding it and channeling it, though you can spam it to get rid of your charges as fast as you want, if you want. I'm combining this with Blade Shift. That's my basic skill of choice. Why Blade Shift? Well, when you enhance it, Blade Shift, while active, gives you 20% movement speed flat, and moving through enemies refreshes its duration. So if you look at this gameplay, you can see that I do the Blade Shift to get 3 combo points and then begin dancing. By passing through enemies, I get the buff of Blade Shift back. So the whole time I have an extra 20% movement speed. Combined with all my other movement speed benefits, that allows me to get that extra 4 charges of Dance of Knives many times. Super early again, maintaining the spin as much as possible. Not to mention, as we go into high levels of difficulty, having extra element resist while that's going is incredible. And you just get 15% resistance to all elements from that while it's going, which it's always going. So it's pretty incredible for giving you some early tankiness too. For the rest of the abilities, it's pretty standard fare. I run Shadow Step to give myself a vulnerable charge, movement ability, give myself unstoppable if I get stunned or something like that. I use Shadow Clone for the massive burst that provides while it's going, and there's lots of perks by running this. While leveling, I run initially Shadow Imbuement, as we'll talk about, but then I swap to Cold Imbuement for the many common perks of that. Hard CC and massive damage by attacking children frozen targets. And lastly, of course, Smoke Grenade, which we're generally slapping onto elites because that instantly resets the cooldown in many cases, regularly causing dazes, which has given me lots of damage increases from the skill tree. So those are the skills and why. Let's take a look at the skill tree, what my initial plans for Paragon are, the new rune system, what mercenaries I'm using, and then a little chat about how to play this effectively. To begin with, we have a new leveling setup. We now max level at 60, which means we in fact get 70 points total in the skill tree to work with. You'll note that I have 66 instead of 70. That is because for some reason in this early version of the game that we're running, they completely reset our renown. So I've been having to regain my skill points, even my potion capacity, which has sucked, by the way. I have 5 potions. So, you know, I'm going to tell you where to put those extra 4 points, and obviously it's not been a problem for me. Right, off the bat, we start with Blade Shift, and we enhance that all the way to primary. Once you get this enhanced, that's going to give you the movement speed while it's going, and again, you reset it by moving through enemies, so you want to be doing that. It does attack super quick with short range though, so you press yourself against them and stab them. On the next tree, we are taking no core skills, but I would recommend you take that in your initial levels, like let's say you're level 10, you might as well have Blade Flurry or Barrage, whatever you prefer, but we will be dropping that very soon. In terms of passives at this tree, we have Sturdy for close damage reduction, we have Siphoning Strikes for healing when you critically strike. Both of these can be left until much later, 6 points there for passives that we get later in the leveling. So just grab a core skill, level it up, enhance it fully, and then drop it when you're ready. On the next tree then, we get to Dance of Knives, which you want to take 1 point into and then enhance to get you the immediate refresh of stacks, these charges, when you move every 30 meters. We take that to Disciplined because each knife slows enemies and has that chance to pierce, in particular to spread more damage per knife. At this stage, we'll also fully level up Dance of Knives. The more you level it though, the more damage it does, and obviously that's vital. While you're on this tree then, consider picking up Shadow Step. Once you enhance this, it's going to be a guaranteed vulnerable application, and that is really nice early when you don't have lots of ways to do that. So if there's an elite or a boss, you can keep Shadow Stepping on them. I also take Disciplined in this case, making it deal way more damage and helping reset the cooldown, so I have it when I need it. At this stage during leveling, I would also consider picking up Dash, just to have it. It's nice to be able to get around. I wouldn't upgrade it or enhance it in any way, but if you were going to, I would go Enhanced and then go to Methodical. Though, of course, I do drop Dash for the skill slot when I have to do that. Here though, you'll see a lot of passives. What you care about is getting 3 out of 3 weapon mastery early on. Everything else here, we leave until later. But to show you what it is, we have Unstable Elixirs. This just gives you a big damage bonus and an AoE stun when you drink a healing potion. And we have Trick Attacks because when you daze enemies or stun them, this increases your critical strike chance and crit strike damage. I also have 1 point dumped into Rapid Gambits just for the evade to daze people to help synergize with this. And I have 1 point here into Rugged for a bit of damage reduction against damage over time effects. Very low value, but since I'm pretty happy with everything I have elsewhere, this is where I'm going to put the next 4 points. I'm going to get 2 points in Rugged, bringing me to 68 total, and then probably put the other 2 points into Rapid Gambits. Down on the next tree then, this is where it gets interesting. You will see that I actually have 5 levels into Dark Shroud. This is very common, and if you're a rogue player, you already know what I'm going to say. You want to pick this up and use it once you have the aspect that makes it work. The aspect I'm talking about is Umbrous. Critical strikes have a chance to give you a free Dark Shroud shadow, which means I don't actually need it on my bars or even need to use that ability to get the effect. But obviously, I do need to level it up and give it the perks. So once we have that aspect, you put 5 points into this, you enhance it, giving you movement speed, very relevant, and also countering, giving us an extra 10% critical strike chance for at least having 1 shadow active. So do not take this or worry about it until you have the Umbrous aspect. Hopefully at some point you'll find it, like I did, not too far in. But until then, save those points. In the meantime, we are taking 1 point into Smoke Grenade, as we've explained. We enhance that. This increases the damage that you deal to enemies hit by it. And also, if you pick up Countering, if you place it on Elite or Boss, that cuts the cooldown by 5 seconds. This can completely cut the cooldown on a pack of Elites, so you're able to just press it anytime you want. Basically, every 5 seconds to maintain the damage buff. Also, here we have a few passives to consider. The important ones of Malice and Exploit are obvious. Increased damage to healthy and injured enemies, and increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and especially knockdown enemies. Then we have Agile, which is very low priority, one of the last things you're going to pick up. It just means using a cooldown gives dodge chance, nice for damage reduction, not important early, definitely ignore that as long as you can. Down onto the next tree then, we have the all-important imbuements. When you're first leveling, you're going to hit this and you're going to pick this up pretty quick. You'll pick up Shadow Imbuement, then you'll enhance it and take it to Blended. This means Shadow Imbuement explodes and makes all the enemies vulnerable. Really nice when you're leveling before you start to get your kind of proper setup so that you have consistent vulnerable. Picking up Cold Imbuement early is not necessarily a good idea. I start with Shadow Imbuement and work on that until I get the aspects tied to the Frost Imbuement. Frost Imbue related aspects that are important are things like Frostbitten. We don't care about the first part, but the second part increases critical strike damage against frozen or stunned enemies. That's a big damage increase. So when you find an aspect like that, you should consider swapping to the Frost Imbue. You'll also see that I run the Craven aspect because I gain nice movement speed while moving away from slowed or chilled enemies, and that is very effective for helping increase our movement speed while leveling. So to begin with, you pick up Shadow Imbue and take it to Blended. You do not need to level it past 1 rank. And later when you're ready to swap to Cold Imbue, that's what you do. 1 point into that, then we enhance it. Cold Imbue skills have a high chance to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. We are spamming it so it becomes incredible, and a primary source of generating vulnerable at that point. We take it to Mix, of course. This results in much more damage for CC'd enemies, and especially frozen ones in particular. In terms of passives for that Imbue, we just take Frigid Finesse, massively increasing your damage bonus to frozen, or half of that for chilled. On the ultimate tree then, we of course take Shadow Clone, which by the way, you can fully level up to 5 out of 5 now. So we 5 out of 5 that, and also take it to Prime, and of course Supreme. And another passive here is Impetus. After moving 15 meters, your next core or ultimate skill deals increased damage. Not that important, but while this damage bonus is ready, so available, your basic, agility, and subterfuge skills deal 15% times increased damage. Dance of Knives is an agility skill, so while you have that buff, this is doing a lot more damage. So it's certainly a valuable passive, but again, something you'll put off until later. You want to rush pretty much to your key passive as soon as possible, and for leveling, it is of course momentum. Casting or channeling a cutthroat skill grants a stack of momentum. So you're going to instantly get your top stacks of momentum by using Dance of Knives, which is a channeled cutthroat skill. The stacks give you damage reduction, movement speed, which obviously we want, and increased damage. All of those are amazing and it stacks up to 10 times. Maximum energy and the energy regen means nothing for this build though. Also, there's an aspect that you probably want on your amulet if you can get it, which is Stolen Vigor. While at maximum stack, your cutthroat skills are going to deal a lot more damage and you become unstoppable regularly. Again, Dance of Knives is a cutthroat skill, so it's a huge, consistent damage increase. Again, as a reminder, I am using combo points because we are using the Star Shards aspect, which means Dance of Knives spends combo points. If you do not have this aspect during your leveling period while using Dance of Knives, then consider Inner Sight. While it's procced, you have infinite charges on Dance of Knives, which is really nice. And then Preparation can give you some nice damage reduction. Either is fine, but when you have that aspect, I am running combo points. Right, when you do hit level 60, I'm just showing you the first board to give you an idea of what I've been aiming for. I don't have all my glyphs yet, but I have the one I want, which is Versatility. Non-basic and non-core skills just get 25% times increased damage. Ridiculous. So it's obviously an incredible glyph to get early and get activated like I've done here. And I path like so to make sure I'm getting extra resistance to elements, damage. I'll be back with a follow-up build to show you the proper boards and all that, but this is a leveling build. You won't have that while you're leveling or just hit 60. Okay, so while you're leveling, you're not going to have all the aspects I do have right now, but there are some key ones to aim for. As I've been talking about, Star Shards is one of the most important ones to get, so you can use combo points and start to really smash out those Dance of Knife procs. After you get your key passive, Stolen Vigor, ideally on, say, your amulet, is going to be a huge damage increase. But it's not going to be an important one until you have your key passive, and you won't get it immediately. As I talked about, Umbrous is definitely a high priority one if you find it. It allows you to start using Dark Shroud, like I showed, without having to give up a skill slot. And as I've shown, the perks of that are pretty amazing. Major damage reduction while they're active, the more the better. Movement speed, which is super important for Dance of Knives, and crit strike chance too. So it's phenomenal once you have that aspect. Another high priority aspect I'd say is Synergy. Using an agility skill reduces the cooldown of your next sub skill by 40%. Then using a sub skill increases the damage of your next agility skill. So by applying Smoke Grenade, you proc Synergy, making your next agility skill deal way more damage. Also, Smoke Grenade applied to a target is a damage increase against that target, so it just works really well together. Then the agility skill you use on that Synergy proc is of course Dance of Knives, our main DPS ability. So it is a great one to have, and as you can see in this case, I have it in my bow because it's the highest priority thing you can have. So those are the most important aspects. Here's some nice ones to get. Frostbitten allows you to start using the Frost Imbue as soon as possible, since it's giving you extra crit strike damage against those frozen targets. When you're there, I really like Craven because we're chilling enemies quite a lot, and this is giving us nice movement speed. More movement, the more we can spin. You'll see that I have concussive strikes as well. Damaging an enemy might daze them, and we deal increased damage to dazed enemies. That's part of playing a rogue, as we've seen with trick attacks. Dazing an enemy increases crit strike chance and damage. Defensively, you could consider Juggernaut, Disobedience, and of course Might, like I do have here, giving me 20% DR by using basic skills, and I'm irregularly using that for a nice bit of DR. Not high priority at all, but yeah, defensives are nice. Other than that, there's one that I definitely do recommend if you can get it, and that's Clandestine. It gives you +1 level to agility and sub-skills, so Dance of Knives and Smoke Bomb, or Smoke Grenade rather, just really perfect. If you're wondering about my weapons, I do not have the ideal setup right now. Look, I've got a flurry aspect, it's literally irrelevant. Edge Masters is pretty good though. Skills deal increased damage when you're at higher resource, and since I'm always at full resource, it's maxing that out. But it's not exactly ideal right now. You're changing your weapons so much that, you know, you're probably not reliably having the relevant aspects on these while leveling anyway, and I just hit 60, so I'm starting to hold them down now. In regards to runes, there isn't anything I could really say, oh, you're gonna need this. When you're leveling, you just get given what you get given. So you equip the best you can. In my case, I've got one that gives me increased critical strike chance, which is nice, and I've just got a Spiritborn ability proc. In terms of my options, it's not great. Trigger the Sorcerer Meteorites, get primary resource, which is irrelevant, and then the other crit strike chance one. So you just run whatever's best and most relevant for you. It's definitely not the most relevant thing during leveling, but we'll get to it in the next build. On the other hand, what about Mercenaries? For me, I am running these two, Rahir and Vayana. Rahir is my main one, the actual hired mercenary. And here's my skill tree. We go right path, picking up Ground Slam, grabbing Aegis so we get resistance to all elements, which would be relevant in higher Torment levels. And I come down to Bastion. This generates a shield that reduces the damage you take massively while you're in it, and a bit of unstoppable. But the most important thing is this, Inspiration. Enemies affected by the Ground Slam take 15% times increased damage. The other part is allies affected by Rahir's Bastion deal 25% times increased damage. So while you're in that bubble, you're actually dealing significantly more damage too. So it's absolutely brilliant. In terms of reinforcement then, we have Vayana, and I'm taking specifically Bloodthirst. She just gets a load of attack speed and unstoppable when she uses this, but specifically, it gives us attack speed, which means faster Dance of Knives, which is just really nice. Right then, I did promise some gameplay tips. When you use your imbuement, make sure you use Dance of Knives after. In the case of, say, Frost Imbue, which is incredible, you apply the Frost Imbue, then begin spinning, and then all those knives that you're throwing out are Frost Imbued during that. The next time you activate your Dance of Knives, it's going to take another stack of Cold Imbue. So as long as you're throwing out these blue frosty knives, you're good to go. Or I guess shadow ones if you're using that early. But remember, each time you reactivate, you re-click Dance of Knives, that's going to consume another charge of the imbuement. So if you spam click, you're going to instantly consume them and be very ineffective. So just be careful with that. With this setup though, we are using combo points and that aspect that's enhancing how long the Dance of Knives actually lasts. So we try to make sure to stab at people with Blade Shift to get 3 combo points and then Dance of Knives after that, which takes 2 seconds because Blade Shift is super quick. The benefits of that are movement speed and also resistant to all elements. You just maintain it by moving through enemies regularly. Even if you're just targeting one thing like a boss, go back through it over and over, you'll not have to actually keep using Blade Shift and not have to worry about your combo points. But if you come out of Dance of Knives at any point, you'll need to just quickly Blade Shift them 3 times again, so be aware of that. As I said earlier with Smoke Grenade, just make sure you drop this on elites, on bosses, pretty much on cooldown every 5 seconds. This will maintain the big damage buff you get from that, and if you're running Synergy, that will really help. I use Shadow Step just to get around, or proc Vulnerable, or proc my own Unstoppable, and then Shadow Clone is just a huge damage buff. I use it last once I've set up all my self buffs and clouded the target. Then with the setup long Dance of Knives ready, I'll press Shadow Clone and then begin spamming. To maximize with this skill tree, we'll also drink a potion for the AoE stun and damage buff that provides, and then start the Shadow Clone and spin. We hold that as long as possible to maximize the Shadow Clone so that it's using its own Dance of Knives for as long as possible. But yeah, there you have it. That is my leveling build and all the really early information I could get for you. Being able to do this where I played early and actually have actual footage of it, showing it working and proving it to you just how effective it is, but also just how super fun this new ability is, especially for leveling. So strongly recommended, and I hope I provided all the information you might have needed. If I did, please do drop a like. I'll be covering Rogue for this season, so I'll appreciate your support. Until next time then, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.